Hey, how's it going? David here. Straight and to the point, last night I saw the F1 movie. I saw it in IMAX at 10:45 p.m. and then after 20 minutes of ads and then 15 more minutes of trailers, the movie finally started. No wonder the movie theater experience is struggling. So I'm going to talk about the realism and the believability of the movie, how it acts as a car movie against other big car movies, especially the ones that aren't Fast and Furious, because I think all of us are kind of tired of those, and if it's even worth your time. And this is going to be a spoiler-free review from a car guy who loves racing cars. But before we get started, this video is sponsored by HB Tuners. Here's the deal, HB Tuners is an incredibly user-friendly tuning software and data logging software. And I personally use it in my Coyote Swap 240SX and my 2013 Mustang GT Smurf. And HB Tuners makes things incredibly easy by using the most sophisticated OBD interface out there, the MPVI3. Simply plug in your MPVI3, hook it up to your laptop, and you're good to go. It's literally that simple. And without HB Tuners, my motors definitely would have had a bad time due to the data I've collected to tune and tweak my motors in different situations. I personally use HB Tuners for my Fords, but they have a whole list of brands that HB Tuners is compatible with. So huge thanks to HB Tuners for sponsoring today's video. Go show them some love in the description below and use HB Tuners for yourself and your project. All right, let's talk about the F1 movie. So right off the bat, I'll say this. Even if you're not super into Formula One, but you are into cars and car movies, this movie is basically a love letter to motorsports. Without spoiling anything, the movie actually opens with the 24 Hours of Daytona. It sets the stage that this movie loves cars. It loves racing. And that right off the bat, I was like, okay, they might be onto something here. And I want to be absolutely clear, I was very skeptical of this movie. When I saw them filming at the real F1 races, and basically they would do things at the real F1 races, and then they throw Brad Pitt in there, you know, from left field. I'm like, oh yeah, Brad Pitt's doing this movie thing. But it was interesting to see him with the real life drivers right next to him. So I was like, okay, is this gonna be cheesy? Is it gonna be a gimmick? And I am proud to report, it's not. So if you've seen the movie TopGun Maverick, which is a blast to see in IMAX, it had a really good sense of speed and the control of the aircraft, right? You were there with the pilot. It's the same people who made Maverick. So with this, the sense of speed is one of the best I've ever seen in a car movie. What do you go to see a car movie for? You go to see it for racing, and there's tons of racing. It's not one of those things where there's dialogue 90% of the movie. The sense of realism that really comes with this movie is that they aren't the best F1 team. They're the worst. So the struggles, the finances, the drama, dealing with the FIA, dealing with regulations, dealing with a box of a car. How do you make this better? How do you even fight these other teams with multi-million-dollar backing? Is the team going to get bankrupt? These are all real questions that F1 teams go through all the time. Actually, every race team kind of goes through now that I think of it. So it's a really cool struggle to get this race team to be best of the rest rather than automatically being the greatest team on the F1 field. And I found that way more believable of a storyline. All of the things that we were all thinking in the trailers, like, Brad Pitt, isn't he in his 60s? Like an F1 driver, could they even physically handle this? They address all of these doubts in the story right off the bat. So basically they're like, oh, okay, that's their argument here, that's their argument there. Brad Pitt's character was a legendary racer in the 90s who went up against the likes of Senna and Schumacher and Prost. It's a love letter to the sport because they do have some footage integrated from the 90s as well. But basically, Brad Pitt's character is the best who never was. And without spoiling it, they explain why. But he gets a seat in this F1 team that's struggling, and he's going against this rookie. And the banter between the actors is actually really great. You actually get invested in these characters, and you're not just sitting there like, when's the next race? Like, that's what I'm here for. I was invested in the movie. In fact, I would argue that this executes that better than the Gran Turismo movie. If I were to describe F1 the movie in one line, it would be Ford versus Ferrari in modern times. It's not a period piece. And at the same time, with some more innovative camera moves and cinematography, since this is the same team that did TopGun Maverick. And a great example is that they have this really cool camera rig that when they mount it on the F1 car, gives you a great POV of everything to where it'll turn and gyro and do all these really neat moves, and you can tell it's the real deal. When it comes to the driving itself, of course there is some CGI in the movie, but there was not a single moment in the movie where I'm just like, that is just so unbelievable, I'm gone, I'm out of the movie. It feels very good. It feels very real. Like I said before, the sense of speed is great. And there's also some inside jokes to racing fans and Formula One fans. There's even a dig at Drive to Survive, the Netflix series, which takes a lot of things out of context, and then people watch that show and they're like, I'm an F1 expert now. But the main reason the F1 movie probably works is the direction, but also the producer. It's Lewis freaking Hamilton. He produced this movie, you know, the 7-time world champion. So he took a lot of his experience and was basically a technical advisor to be like, this is how people act. This is how you deal with the media. This is how you deal with PR. And they make the journalists look like such assholes in this movie because they really are in real life. Like, F1 journalists are some pieces of work, man. And the team uses some really unorthodox methods to really get ahead in basically the championship, and it's hilarious to watch how they do it. There's never a moment in this movie where people are talking cars, talking about racing, and you go, now wait a minute, that's not a real thing. Everything felt very legitimate. They took this movie very seriously, and that makes me really happy. Side note, if you guys know Misha from the Nürburgring videos, hi Misha, we actually met a very long time ago in 2017 at the Nürburgring, but it was like a 5-second interaction. But Misha, this awesome driver on the Nürburgring, there's actually a spotting of him at the very end, but he's in the movie for like 2 seconds, which is a really cool thing. But the movie is a very pretty film. I really feel bad because I went into this movie not really sure, right? I went into this movie being like, can they really capture the sense of speed that Formula One drivers have and all that good stuff? Having an elderly Brad Pitt sustain fighter jet G-forces, well, you know, Tom Cruise did that in an F-18. I guess they could do that in an F1 car. If I were to talk about the main car movies that aren't Fast and Furious, this is up there, in my opinion. It's probably S tier. I would put it right there with Ford versus Ferrari. Ford versus Ferrari tells the real life historical story, right? With some changes to the story, but the world building of Formula One, being around famous drivers, being around all these people. There's even a Max Verstappen joke in the movie, and you're like, Max would totally do that. In other words, there's a moment where Brad Pitt's character drives in a very erratic way and Max is not happy about it. And that's exactly what would happen in real life. But they go into the weeds of practicing on the sim, trying to figure these things out. How do you navigate social media? How do you navigate criticism? It's all very in the world of F1, and I was very impressed with that. It's a love letter to cars. It's a love letter to racing. They took this movie seriously. It was not a cash grab. It didn't feel like a blatant cash grab of the popularity of the Formula One brand. And that makes me so freaking happy. I would go see it again. I would go see it in IMAX. I think it's worth it. Go see it in IMAX. Have you seen it yet? What do you think of the entire idea of the F1 movie? I recommend it, and I think if you guys go see it and support this movie, we'll get some more really great car movies. And on that note, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.